Well, we all know that social media is a breeding ground for comparison, but my hot take is that this doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So today we're going to talk about how to turn your social media comparison spiral into financial progress. And speaking of using the internet strategically, make sure to share this video with a friend who needs to know this hack when it comes to comparison, and make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future episode. All right, even though this mindset applies to any season, I really start thinking about comparison because different points of the year create vacation mode, and spring break is coming. And so again, we all know that like during Christmas, you're going to see certain things on your feed around Christmas. Maybe it's Christmas morning and all the gifts that the family bought the kids, or maybe it's a ski trip, or maybe it's spring break and everyone's going to the beach, or maybe it's in the summer and you're watching some family you don't even know, like traveling around Europe. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But whenever it comes to specifically, I think travel, it creeps up, and it seems like a lot of people nationwide have that same season consistently around their calendar. So right now, that is creeping up because of spring break. Now, the belief that, well, everyone is just having more fun than we are, or every family that I know is closer than ours, these lies that we start to believe because of pictures we see on social media, we have to be careful. The stories we tell ourselves are not always true, because the truth is, you guys, we have no way of knowing the reality behind those pictures, behind those closed doors of those families. Unless you're really good friends with them and you really, really, really know them, we are making snap judgment calls on what is going on in their lives, and we don't know the truth. So here are 4 ways to reset your comparison spiral and use it to better yourself financially. You ready? Number 1, you don't know the whole story. It's kind of what we just mentioned, but it is so true. And I'll be honest, I used to be so judgmental. Someone would go on a great trip and I'd be like, I want to go on that trip. They're probably just using a credit card and going into debt for it. Like, I would sit there and just like judge them. And listen, I don't do that anymore. Okay. I'm just like, because it's just, I don't know. I don't know. And also, it's none of my business to know most of these people. I'm like, I don't know how they got on that trip. Could they have used credit cards? Sure. Could they have saved up for a whole year and splurged to take their family on a bucket list trip? Sure. I don't know. And so, again, the truth is that us sitting there making up assumptions in our head, it's not going to be good for us. It's not. What I've learned to do is just celebrate people. Be like, good for them. Good for them. And then go back to minding my own business. I tell my kids all the time, you're not in charge. You have a full-time job taking care of you. Just take care of you. Don't take care of everybody else. Take care of you. That's what I tell myself. Sometimes, Rachel, stop trying to take care of everybody else and figuring out what everyone else is doing, all their business. No, just take care of you. Put the blinders on. And I'm telling you, it brings so much more peace. The second thing is to turn that feeling of comparison into a goal. And so it is very human to want things that you don't have, right? So that desire pops up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great trip. Now, when envy creeps in, jealousy, resentment, even anger towards this person, that is where things get really, really negative. And that's what we don't want. And so instead of that, maybe being like, okay, instead of like just dying for their whole life and being so sad about my life and oh my gosh, woe is me, actually be like, hey, that actually looks like a great trip. Maybe we can create a goal around that. And maybe that is something I really do want to do and experience. So let's make that a goal and then actually shoot for something, right? Because I mean, I do think social media can give you some great ideas of like where to go, especially with travel. It's like, oh, well, that looks like a fun hotel. Let's make it a goal. And then if it's just like so unrealistic, because there's some people out there, it's like they just feel like they have endless amounts of money and you're like, oh, well, we could never afford that. Then maybe understand that reality, but then find something else in that area or a different place to stay or whatever it may look like. But again, creating this instead of like a comparison that turns an envy, resentment route, be grateful for what you have. And one thing that really keeps track for me to be grateful is writing things down. And a few years ago, I launched my contentment journal. And I want to share it with you guys. So I'll put a link down below. So make sure to check it out. These also make great gifts, which I love. But it really walks through this practice of getting in a rhythm of gratitude and generosity and contentment ultimately. All right, before I share the rest, I do want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Delete Me. We spend so much of our lives online, and we're on social media, like we're talking about here, but we're also shopping and banking, and everything we do seems to be on the internet these days. And so are our names and addresses and work history and phone numbers and email addresses and so much more. And they're out there for bad guys to exploit. So we need to protect ourselves, and that is why I love Delete Me. It is so great. Delete Me finds and removes your information from hundreds of data broker websites that buy, sell, and trade your personal data. So take care and take control of your online privacy today and find peace of mind with Delete Me. Individual Delete Me plans start as low as $9 a month. So sign up today at joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off, or click the link in the description. All right, number 3, when comparison starts to creep in, understand that real joy is found in community. The things that money can't buy, you guys, that is where a lot of joy of life is. And that could be your spiritual life, that could be your health, but also your relationships. And so understanding that, like, having real people in your lives that know you and love you, this can be friends, a spouse, but having real life people, not just people through a phone, know you and walk with you, like, there is joy in that money cannot buy. And so if it looks like another family is having like more fun just because they're at this bougie destination, you know, they may be having fun and they may have some joy there, but you can also experience a level of joy in that because usually their joy is coming because of the family around them, not always because of the destination. And so if you're not able to travel to that fancy destination, find ways to be with people in your life that you love and cash in on that joy. You know, invite a friend and go on a walk. You know, have some people over to your house this Friday night and like play games, or have, you know, your cousins over for brunch after church. Like whatever that looks like create an environment where you are with people, because there's a level of joy and community that money cannot buy. And then I would say number 4 is to have patience. You know, if you rush that fancy vacation by overspending and going into debt, you're going to end up being so stressed that you may not even enjoy it. The stress outweighs the joy that you were trying to create. So wait until you can do all of this wisely. And trust me, it is so much better. Have the patience. You will get there one day. Like there's something about saying, you know, I'm going to wait for that thing, because the truth is too, a year later, you may not even want to go there, right? So there is something about that delayed gratification that is so key, and practicing contentment in that patience. It takes time and intentionality, but that contentment, that peace that you have in your heart over time, it creates something in your life that, again, we're going back to this, but it's true, that money can't buy that peace of mind. So being patient with yourself is a huge way to combat comparison. Now, another way to healthily compare is to know how you stack up to the national average. So make sure to check out my episode, How Do Your Monthly Expenses Compare to the Average American? You can click here, or if you're listening on podcast, I will put a link down below. All right, guys, happy traveling. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.